It's 2 a.m. and you're suddenly wide awake because your calf has seized up so hard you can barely breathe. You're gripping the bed frame, trying to flex your foot, waiting for the muscle to let go. If this has happened to you more than once, you already know it's not just annoying, it's exhausting. It disrupts your sleep for the whole night, and it can leave your legs sore for a full day afterward. Here's something that might surprise you. For a huge number of people over 60, this isn't random. There's a specific, well-studied nutrient connection behind it, and almost nobody brings it up at a regular checkup. Today I want to walk you through what the research actually says about nighttime leg cramps after 60, why one mineral in particular keeps showing up in the science, and what a sensible, safe next step looks like, including when this is not the answer and something else needs to be checked instead. If you find this useful, consider subscribing, because every week we go through research like this on health topics that matter specifically to people over 60. Why leg cramps become more common as we age. Nocturnal leg cramps, sudden, painful, involuntary contractions, usually in the calf, become dramatically more common with age. Research on this has consistently found that a large share of adults over 60 experience them at least occasionally, and for a meaningful subset, they happen weekly or more. There are several reasons this becomes more common later in life. Muscles and nerves change with age. Circulation isn't quite what it was in your 30s. Many people are on medications, diuretics for blood pressure being a common one, that can affect fluid and mineral balance. And absorption of certain nutrients from food becomes less efficient as we get older, even when the diet itself hasn't changed much. All of that sets the stage for the mineral I want to focus on today, magnesium. Why magnesium specifically? Magnesium plays a direct role in how muscles contract and relax. Very simplified. Calcium tells a muscle fiber to contract, and magnesium is part of what allows that fiber to relax again afterward. When magnesium is low, that relax signal doesn't work as smoothly, and muscles, especially ones that have been used a lot during the day, like calves, are more prone to involuntary spasms, particularly at night when you're still and circulation naturally slows. Magnesium is also involved in nerve signaling more broadly. When levels run low, nerve-to-muscle communication can become a little erratic, which is part of why low magnesium has also been linked in some research to restless legs and general muscle twitching, not just outright cramps. And the deficiency piece is real. National Nutrition Survey data has repeatedly found that a large percentage of American adults don't get enough magnesium from food alone, and older adults are at even higher risk for a few compounding reasons. The kidneys become somewhat less efficient at conserving magnesium with age. Some common medications, including certain diuretics and proton pump inhibitors used long-term, can lower magnesium levels, and intestinal absorption of magnesium tends to decline gradually after around age 65. Put those together: lower intake, worse absorption, higher losses, and it's easy to see why so many people over 60 are running a mild magnesium deficit without ever being tested for it, because magnesium isn't part of a routine basic metabolic panel unless a doctor specifically orders it. What the clinical research actually shows. I want to be precise here rather than overstating things, because this topic gets exaggerated a lot online. Clinical trials on magnesium and nighttime leg cramps have had mixed results overall. Some show a clear benefit, some show a smaller effect, and a few show little difference from placebo. That's worth being upfront about. But among the trials that specifically enrolled older adults with frequent cramps, several have found a meaningful reduction in how often cramps occurred after consistent daily magnesium supplementation over roughly 6 to 8 weeks, along with reported improvements in sleep quality on nights without a cramp episode. The honest summary is this: magnesium isn't a guaranteed fix for everyone, but for people who are genuinely running low on it, correcting that deficiency has a reasonable, evidence-supported chance of reducing cramp frequency, and it's a low-risk thing to investigate compared to a lot of other interventions. The form of magnesium matters. If you've ever looked at a supplement shelf, you've seen half a dozen kinds of magnesium, and no explanation of the difference. This actually matters quite a bit. Magnesium oxide is the cheapest and most common form on store shelves, but it's poorly absorbed by the body. A large percentage of it simply isn't taken up by the intestine, and instead it tends to draw water into the gut, which is why it's more often used as a laxative than a true supplement. Magnesium citrate absorbs considerably better than the oxide form, but at higher doses it can also have a loosening effect on digestion for a lot of people. Magnesium glycinate, magnesium bound to the amino acid glycine, tends to be well absorbed and is generally gentler on the stomach and less likely to cause digestive upset, which is why it's often the form researchers use in trials focused on things like sleep and muscle cramping specifically. None of this means the other forms are bad, they're simply suited to different purposes. If your only goal is addressing cramps without stomach issues, glycinate is generally considered the more practical choice, and that's reflected in supplement industry guidance and several clinical trial protocols. Before you assume it's magnesium, other things that cause the exact same symptom. This is the part I really don't want you to skip, because leg cramps aren't caused by only one thing, and treating the wrong cause means you keep suffering unnecessarily. Medications. Certain diuretics used for blood pressure, along with some statins and asthma medications, have been associated with increased leg cramping in some patients. If your cramps started around the same time as a new prescription, that timing is worth mentioning to your doctor or pharmacist directly. Dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. Magnesium doesn't work alone. Potassium and calcium are part of the same system. An imbalance in any of these, often from limited fluid intake, which becomes more common as thirst sensation dulls with age, can produce the same cramping pattern. Circulatory issues. Peripheral artery disease, which reduces blood flow to the legs, can cause cramping, though this type is more often triggered specifically by walking, called claudication, rather than happening at rest during sleep. If your cramping is tied to activity and eases with rest, that's a distinct pattern worth flagging to a doctor. Nerve-related causes. Conditions like peripheral neuropathy, sometimes related to diabetes or vitamin B12 deficiency, can also produce cramping, tingling, or restless sensations in the legs, and these need a different approach entirely than a magnesium supplement would address. Thyroid function. An underactive thyroid can contribute to muscle cramping and is easily checked with a simple blood test. The reason I'm walking through all of this is simple. If your cramps are actually being driven by one of these other causes, taking magnesium alone may do very little, and you'd be spending weeks waiting for improvement that was never going to come from that approach. What a sensible next step actually looks like. Here's a grounded, low-risk way to approach this if nighttime leg cramps are a regular problem for you. First, talk to your doctor or pharmacist and mention it directly, not as a passing comment, but as something you want addressed. Ask specifically whether any of your current medications are known to contribute to cramping, and whether it would make sense to check your magnesium, potassium, and calcium levels, along with basic kidney and thyroid function. A simple blood panel can rule in or rule out several of these causes at once. Second, if your doctor agrees supplementation is reasonable for you, a commonly used starting amount in research has been in the range of 300 to 350 milligrams of magnesium glycinate daily, generally taken in the evening, often with a small snack to reduce any chance of stomach upset. Consistency matters more than the exact hour. Most of the benefits shown in trials came from daily use over several weeks, not occasional use. Third, give it real time before judging results. Most trials that showed benefit measured outcomes after 6 to 8 weeks of consistent daily use, not after a few nights. Keeping a simple written log, how many cramps per week, roughly how severe, how your sleep was, gives you and your doctor something concrete to look at rather than a vague impression. Fourth, know when to stop and ask more questions instead. If cramps continue unchanged after 8 weeks of consistent supplementation, that's meaningful information. It likely means magnesium isn't the primary driver in your case, and it's worth going back to your doctor to look at the other causes I mentioned rather than simply increasing the dose on your own. A few important safety notes. Magnesium supplements aren't appropriate for everyone. If you have kidney disease, your kidneys are what clear excess magnesium from the body, and impaired kidney function can allow magnesium to build up to unsafe levels. This group should only supplement under a doctor's direct guidance and monitoring. If you take medications for heart rhythm problems, certain antibiotics, or diuretics, magnesium can interact with how those medications work, so this is genuinely a check with your doctor first situation rather than a formality. And if you ever experience unusual muscle weakness, an irregular heartbeat, or significant nausea after starting a magnesium supplement, stop taking it and contact your doctor. These are uncommon, but are signs that levels may be too high for your body to process correctly. The bottom line: nighttime leg cramps after 60 are common, genuinely disruptive to sleep and quality of life, and often treatable. But the honest answer is that they don't have a single universal cause or a guaranteed one-size-fits-all fix. Magnesium, particularly in the glycinate form, has real clinical evidence behind it for people whose cramps are linked to a magnesium shortfall, and it's a low-risk, inexpensive thing to investigate with your doctor's input. But it's just as important to rule out medications, circulation issues, nerve problems, and thyroid function, because treating the wrong cause just means more sleepless nights. If this was helpful, let me know in the comments what your experience with leg cramps has been, and subscribe if you'd like more research-based breakdowns like this one, aimed specifically at health after 60.